Alright, so guys, today what we're going to do is we're going to start painting the apple, okay? So, yesterday what we did is we painted, I'm going to kind of move some of this stuff out of the way so we can see this. So yesterday we did the background. For anybody who was absent yesterday, you could go ahead and start painting the apple today, and you'll have to come in for an open lab to do the background, but yeah. So, and I would think an XH bell just isn't going to be long enough to get the background done. So I'm going to try to get this to focus a little bit better. So for those of you that did do the background, we all have the masking tape on there, okay? And you notice it kind of wrapped around the back. So what we're going to do, this is probably going to be the most satisfying part of this project that you do. So go ahead, and I'm going to show you guys how to take this tape off. And it might sound silly that there's a specific way to do it, but there is. You don't want to just lift it straight up off of your canvas, but what you want to do is when you remove it, and watch this, I'm going to kind of keep this tape really close to my board like this. I'm not going to pull it straight up. I'm going to pull it just off to the side here. And what will be revealed is that nice clean line right there. So you guys can all go ahead and start taking off that tape. And again, don't lift it up. Just kind of roll this off like this. And that'll prevent you from actually ripping up or even tearing the acrylic paint. So, and now you've got that nice clean edge. Now that doesn't mean that if you want to go back through and still clean up or work on your blending on the background, you can still go back and do that. If you want to, you could retape that edge again if you're worried that you might get paint over here on your construction paper. So you can retape it. You just got to make sure that if you are going to retape it, that all the paint that's on your canvas is dry before you do it. Okay? Alright, so today, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start painting the apple, and the only colors that I'm going to use right now is just the white, yellow, and the red. So I went ahead and kind of floated back up with a little bit of paint. So we're just going to primarily use our warm colors today, and then when we come back in here for our next class, I'm going to show you guys how to make shadows and make parts of the apple darker. But we're just going to kind of get it started, okay? So what you guys need to do is make sure you take your brush, okay, as always, take that cap off, and put this in your Ziploc bag so it doesn't roll away, and just make sure you do close that up before you set it off to the side. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and use my extra plate here so it's a little bit easier to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make basically a light yellow. I'm going to then make sort of like a orange and maybe even a red orange. I don't know. But I'm going to make a few different types of, basically do like make a value scale using just these three colors. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is just making my really light yellow. So I'm going to take about a scoop of my white. So this is the point where you guys can start following along. So I'm going to take a scoop of my white, and I'm just going to take, I'm going to kind of zoom in on this a little bit. And I'm just going to take a small dot of yellow, and I'm going to mix it in with that one scoop of white that I just created. And this is going to be kind of like, I'm going to use this right now as my lightest value. It won't be my lightest value that I'll ever use on my apple, but it's just what I'm going to start off with. Okay. Now because I do have white on my brush, I'm going to actually wash this off before I mix up my next batch. Alright, so I'm going to wash off my brush because I don't want white in my next pile that I'm going to make. And as always, you know, when you wash your brush off, take all that water off of it. The next thing I'm going to make is, and I can make like, and I can make as many values as I want to, but I just essentially want to start off with, I don't know, maybe like 3 here. So what I'm going to do is try to make an orange, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start with my lightest color in, that you use to make orange, which is yellow. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of start off with about 2 scoops of the yellow. So I got 2 scoops of yellow. And then I'm going to, because I'm making orange, when you make orange, you mix yellow and red together. Red being the darker color, I'm just going to start again with just a small dot of the red and mix it in with my 2 scoops of yellow. I'm just going to see what I've got here. And that looks pretty orange. And I may go back and make more. I don't know how much of these colors I'll need, but I'm just going to start off with that and see where it gets me. And then the next thing, I'm not going to wash my brush this time, okay, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of make a red-orange. So I'm going to, again, start with getting my yellow, since it's the lighter in the formula. Lighter of the 2 colors I'm going to use to make my red-orange. So I'm going to start with 1 scoop of the yellow. And this time, when I go to get the red, I'm going to get quite a bit more. So this is more than a dot. Kind of like a half scoop. I don't know. I'm getting real technical here. So I'm going to take some of that red then and mix that in there, and I'm going for a good red-orange. So what I've got here right now are 3 different values, but if you think about it, I actually have 6 when you look at it this way. I have white, which would be my lightest. I have this pale yellow. Then the next one would be the straight yellow. Then I have this yellow-orange, okay? Or orange, whatever way you want it to call it. Then I have this red-orange, and then I have red, which is the darker. So I actually have 6 different values right now that I can work with. And I will go back and I will pick up and paint with just straight white or straight yellow or straight red whenever I feel like I need to. But this is about all that I need to kind of get things started. Okay? So I am going to go ahead and wash my brush off. Just because I want to start fresh here on the actual apple. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can hopefully see my paints here and my canvas at the same time. I might kind of put them down like this. Okay. Well, you can kind of see them. There we go. I'll have to put them on top of each other. All right, so first thing first, you really need to look at your apple, okay? So look at the apple sitting in front of you. You need to be able to identify where the light is hitting your apple the most. So we've already determined that our light, what direction our light source is coming from. Now my light source is coming from the right side. That's why my blue is lightest over here on the right, and that's why my background is lightest over here on the right. So my light is coming this way and it's hitting the apple. So when I look at the apple in front of me, I see highlights right here on the side. I see it happening up here on some of these high parts up here on what I would call the crown of the apple. And then this side would be the darkest, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take that pale yellow, and I like to actually work lightest to darkest. Now again, every artist is different. A lot of artists like to work dark to light. I'm going to go ahead and take that pale yellow, and I'm just going to paint that wherever I see the light sort of making a glare on top of my apple. And I can see it a lot up here on the crown of it. So if there was like a crown to sit on top of the apple, that's what I'm kind of talking about. So I'm just going to basically paint that down wherever I see that. And it's going to be kind of hard to see just because our canvas in that area is white. And what I can do too is once I get this painted down, I'll turn the light on the hover cam on so then you can see that a little bit better. So I'm just looking for those glares, like those bright and shiny glares on the apple. That's where I'm painting this. And as always, I kind of extend this past a little bit further than what I think it needs to be. So I make these areas, paint them kind of a little bit bigger, just because I will be blending in with other colors later. So I want to be able to overlap them. And again, I'm not so concerned about making my painting nice and smooth, so you can, again, as always, exaggerate your brush marks if you want to. So I'm just painting this really pale light yellow wherever I see the light really touching and adding a glare or shine to the apple. So now what I'm going to do, without washing my brush, now I'm going to go in and I'm going to use this orange that I created, and I'm going to use that to kind of represent the medium values, or kind of medium light values. So I'm not going to wash my brush because, again, I'm going to want these colors to kind of blend together. So I'm going to paint this basically wherever I see, sort of around the outside and around the area where I just put the highlight. And then I'll just kind of blend that out. Now when you first started painting, it's going to look really messy. I always say painting's kind of like the way your room looks when you start cleaning up. It's got to look worse before it gets better. So whenever your parents tell you to clean your room, you start cleaning it, and you look at it, and it kind of looks like it looks worse than what it did, and you're kind of like, why did I even try to clean it up? But then you keep working on it, you keep picking stuff up, and then all of a sudden you'll see that it'll start looking much better. So it's just like cleaning up your room. So I'm just taking this orange that I created, and I'm basically painting it around those areas where I had those highlights. And now it's not going to go everywhere. And then when I feel like I've kind of got it painted on, I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the construction paper and even the background. I kind of clean my brush off of the paint, and in a way kind of set myself up for blending into other values and colors later. Now the other thing, you guys, and this is something you learned on the Still Life project, is that for every form change there should be value change. So this is a round object. So we should see this value and the color constantly change because the form is changing. Okay? Kind of build up some of this orange in some of these places. Okay, so it's going to look really kind of spotty and stuff, and that's normal. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to then go into my red orange that I made. So this is my darker, and I haven't washed my brush. I'm going to start laying in, again, where I see this darker values. When I'm around the edge of the apple, I am going to kind of take my time to kind of slow down so I don't mess up that edge. And some of this orange is still wet, so I can go ahead and kind of blend out. Now at any point, guys, if you run out of paint, you know, you may need to remix your paint colors. Or if you run out of paint, just need more, period, just come on up. Feel free to come up and get more paint. Also working on the inside, that dimple. Again, this is just a start. I just need to get paint down so I can see it, and then I will kind of play with it and kind of change it and revise it and move it around and test things out as I go along. I can already tell I'm going to need to make some of this, more of this red orange, so I'm going to go ahead and do that before I move on. And again, whenever I have to remix a batch of paint, I don't make it such a big deal that I get perfect mixture back again. As long as I can get close, I'm okay with that. And it usually works itself out. And it's not, I don't think, even a bad thing that it doesn't perfectly match, because it's just going to give your painting more variation when it doesn't. So I'm just going to kind of put this red orange. And at times I'm going to go flip my painting upside down because I need to paint the very bottom here. Just want to make sure that edge looks nice. So right now I've got my pale yellow, I have my orange, and I have my red orange painted down. I'm going to go through now and kind of play around with areas. I've already gotten kind of too dark in this area right here, so I'm going to work on making that lighter. I probably need to make my orange again, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do that. Whenever you're in doubt about what you need to do, the answer is going to be sitting in front of you on that apple. So when you're looking at your painting and you're looking to try to figure out how to fix something, look at the apple in front of you and see what it's telling you. You know, where's the light, where's the dark, where's the glare? You're going to be just doing a lot of comparing and contrasting. So I just made my orange back up, and I'm just going to kind of work on kind of blending some of these areas. Now I don't have a full range of values at all on here. All I'm doing is just trying to kind of get myself a base, again, to play with. Kind of move this. So I'm just kind of going back and forth between these three values that I have. Whenever I need to, I'm going to wash my brush off. I'm kind of fixing things as I go along. Nothing I have here is right, so I'm just trying to just kind of pull it all together. I need to make some more of my pale yellow back up. And if you keep in mind here, I haven't even used straight yellow or straight red yet. So I still have those two values that I can play around with. And this time I made my pale yellow just a little bit more yellow because I thought it was too white. Okay, so I have it kind of started here, but as you can see, this whole area down here looks really flat because I just have a whole lot of that red-orange. I don't have enough value change there, so it looks flat. So I'm going to now start by actually going in with just my straight red to add a darker value on. So right now, straight red would be my darkest value. Now, it's not going to be my darkest value when I'm all finished with this painting, but we will be actually going in and adding a much darker value later. And this will be, again, what we do on block day. So I'm going in now with just straight red. And I'm going to put this wherever I see where the apple needs to get real dark. And again, I will make it darker even yet on black day. So this is not my darkest value, but it is for just today. This is just straight red I'm going in on. Now when I'm painting on here, I am thinking about the form, so how the apple is round. So when I'm moving my brush strokes, I'm moving them around as if I were actually painting on top of the apple. So how would these lines kind of curve and wrap around? Or you can kind of imagine this way, if I was to put like a striped blanket on top of this apple, what would the stripes look like, you know? So I'm just going to put this red wherever it needs to get real dark, including up here in the dimple. I'm just going to keep building up that red. So it gets really, really red in those dark areas. And wash my brush off anytime I just need to have a clean brush. Like over here, I'm going to kind of blend this out. Paint, I think, well, it's not quite still wet, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of this red orange and kind of blend this out. Now remember, this is acrylic paint, so if you don't like something, you can let it dry and paint back over top of it. That's kind of nice thing about acrylic paint is that it just allows you to try stuff, and again, try stuff with very little risk. So if you don't like it, you can go back and paint over top of it. So I'm going to need to make some more of my red orange up. So the only colors, I've been using, really, I've used these three mixtures that I created, my light yellow, my orange, and my red orange. And then I've used straight red. I haven't used any straight white, and I haven't used any straight yellow, which I'm not ruling out yet. I might go back in and add just straight yellow in a little bit, but a lot of times when I want to blend a color, I just lay down this color right back here in the back. Too harsh of a line, I'm going to clean my brush off. And before it dries, just kind of blend it out. And if it's drying, which it feels like it's drying a little bit, I'm going to take another color on top of it and just kind of blend it out that way. There we go. So I'm looking for the shapes too that these values and colors are creating. So I have found I've had to remix all three of my colors here, probably at least 2 times. See ya. So I always have this paper towel in my hand, and I am constantly wiping off my brush. Just working on this inside. just make sure too that you are painting all the way to the edge. We don't want to have like a gap between our background and our painting. So make sure you're filling this whole thing up. All right, so that's my start. Is that my finish? Absolutely not. Still have a lot of play to do, and I haven't even put any of my shadows in. All I have done is just basically established sort of just a beginning. And I need to kind of paint over this stuff a little bit. You guys can still see my pencil line through there. Can't stop. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, we have about 5 minutes. I want you to clean up, same as we always have done. Wash off your brush, okay? Wash off your brush. Grab that cap. Okay, after you wash off your brush, reshape that top. Put your cap on. You can put that back in your bag. Put your, your plate with all the piles on it. Put that in the bottom. Put that second plate then on top. That's all going to go in your Ziploc bag. Make sure that your name is showing on the top there on your bag. And then all I need you guys to do is refresh the buckets, clean the buckets out, put new water in them for the next class. There you go. And remember, guys, anybody who's behind or did not get to do the background, come in for Open Lab or XH Bell.